Hey guys, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about collective thought. I'm not a professional on collective thought. These thoughts are all my own. This is for entertainment purposes only, but if you can get something out of it, that'd be great. But today we're going to talk about a hive mind. And I want to read the description first before I get into the video, so it's just going to take a few minutes, okay? Basically, I googled it, the definition, and it says a hive mind refers to collective intelligence where a group acts as a single superorganism seen in social insects like ants and bees, or metaphorically in humans sharing ideas and acting in unison, often via the internet, leading to collective problem solving or potentially dangerous conformity or groupthink. It describes shared consciousness, distributed decision making, and coordinated behavior ranging from positive crowd wisdom to losing individuality for group consensus. And then the key aspects are the nature is a network where individuals share knowledge, goals, and emotions, functioning as one entity from insect colonies to online communities. Examples in nature: ants, and bees coordinating tasks, finding food, or choosing a new nest site through collective signals. Human applications are positively, it would be crowdsourcing, peer reviews, collective problem solving, like guessing an object's weight accurately. Negative ways that we have human applications for this is groupthink, where harmony leads to irrational decisions, loss of personal identity in large crowds, concerts, or rallies. And then in science fiction, often depicted as a central consciousness controlling individuals, such as Borg in Star Trek, suppressing free will. Modern context, the internet hive mind describes collective opinions on social media, Twitter, Reddit, for advice or viral trends, such as the Ice Bucket Challenge. The benefits and drawbacks. Pros: faster creative decisions, better problem solving, increased efficiency, and shared learning. When I think about that, I think about things like doing a GoFundMe to help a family pay for a funeral, or money to help, with their defense, or things like that. The cons would be, and this is important, groupthink, uncritical conformity. That means that they don't think about what they're doing, they're just going along with it. Loss of personal accountability, potential for extreme views or echo chambers. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I hope that you take the time to listen and just keep an open mind, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, Maga. Just at least think about it, okay? With an open mind. You don't have to agree with me, but just pay attention, okay? And just think about it. Just keep it, in the back of your mind. All right? So here we go. Here's the video. Hey, everybody. I'm over here sitting thinking about how things are all playing out, and I'm asking myself the same questions everybody's asking themselves. Why are people going along with this? Why is MAGA and Republicans, and why are they going along with the program? Why do they sound exactly like Trump? Why do they behave like him? And it's hard for me because I really don't want this to be like a bashing channel. Even though there is some anger in me about all of it, but I really don't think it's productive. I think that we need to come together, and it's really hard because there have been barriers put in front of all of us. So I don't know if y'all have been in a narcissistic relationship or just a manipulative relationship. And a lot of it is the same. And some people, say the C word. Not the see you next Tuesday one, but the cult one. And they get really defensive about that. So if you're MAGA, at the very least, just give me a minute, okay? Just listen. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. You're going to do what you want to do, and that's okay too. But have you ever been bitten by a wasp or hornet. I'll tell you a story. So I had a friend of mine that lived next door, and she was moving a bale of pine straw, and she did not know that there was a wasp nest under there. So when she picked it up, she got bit. She got bit by one. Next thing you know, all of them came in, and they just attacked her, okay, in a vicious way. Like, I mean, all over her body, okay? And I don't know if you know anything about the biology of that, but they release some kind of chemical to let everyone else know, all the other bees know that we're under attack. We all need to attack. Now, they don't need to ask questions, okay? They experience that, and then they just attack. There's no questions about it, okay? So it's similar to what's going on now. So when you have someone like Trump, he's already given you the tools to fight against his adversaries, okay? So he will tell you, you know, this about that, and the left about this. The left is evil. They want to corrupt our kids. You know, the trans people, LGBTQ, are the enemy. We have the enemy from within. I've solved 8 wars, 9 wars. And they take that, and that becomes their part of their arsenal. So whenever they come across someone like that, they will use his same talking points. Okay? And that's just how it works. Okay? So they don't necessarily think, like, they don't necessarily do the research. They just know they are a part of this community, and this is what you do. Okay? And it's really hard to get out of that. And I feel for them in some ways. In a lot of ways, I feel like it's just lack of homework, it's lack of research, all of that. So, you know, he's got us pretty much fighting each other. You know, now there's a very small percent of them that will never listen to reason. That will always be there. You know, that will always show anger. We've seen the videos of people being openly racist, okay? And openly hating anyone that was not Maga. And there's just no reason for that. We've never been like that before, okay? Let me tell you another story. I don't know if you've watched the show Supernatural, but I've watched that thing like over and over again. And you may not have watched it, that's okay, but it's going to make sense. So basically, they were at war with demons, okay? And there was a lady named Ellen, and her daughter was also fighting against the demons. So they got split up, and you know the demons because they had the black eyes, right? And there was a king of hell, or knight of hell, and he had a ring that corresponded to him. So basically, he used the ring to brainwash people into thinking whatever he wanted them to think. So in order to cause more chaos, he made the eyes of the people that were fighting the demons look black to the people that were bad, and vice versa, right? So what in essence happened is Ellen, the mom, was trying to find her daughter, okay? And the daughter was trying to find the mom. But when they finally met up, they both saw each other with black eyes. And they didn't know that that person was actually good, and vice versa. So they actually started going at it. They started fighting and arguing and all that stuff. And at the, I'm not going to give it all away, but at some point somebody said, hey, I know what's going on here. This is the doing of this person. I probably got it all wrong. I think it was like the 7 plagues or something like that. I've watched it enough time I should know, but I don't remember. It's been a while. And then they figured out that they were being played. So while they were fighting, while the mom and the daughter were fighting, The mom was like, "Don't you get it? Like this is not true. This is a trick, you know." And then when it finally sunk into her, her eyes got normal, and the mom's eyes got normal, and they realized they were part of the same. They were on the same side. So I bring that forth to you just as an example, okay? So we have Republican people and we have Democratic people, and I wish there was more than one party, obviously, because there's a lot of different people in this country. But this is what the system that we have. And there, we have always seen things differently, but we always got along. Every family member got along. And now Trump has created his own group, okay? And he appealed to the people that had a lot of hate in their heart, that didn't like different people, and it gave them a voice. All of this time, they've had to stay quiet and not let that out, And what they call it is the mask slipping, okay? When people are narcissistic or they are evil, they know that in society you cannot just be openly like that. That's why you have the serial whats. They have families and everything when they get arrested, because they know they have to behave in such a way to be in society and to be able to do the things that they want to do. So now he's empowered all of those people to come out. And it's really sad, because there have been people in my own life that I'm looking at and I'm thinking, wow, I didn't know all this about you, and that's called the mask slipping. And when the mask slips, sometimes they're able to put it back on and everything goes on as usual, and the other person just chalks it up as to a bad day, right? But, Trump was good at that too. The first term, he was good at, having a mask, even though openly he was an a-hole, okay? But now, things are different. He doesn't care anymore. This is his last term, okay? So he just took the mask off and is just being who he is. And everybody else that's following him that are diehards are doing the same. That's why you're seeing all these videos of people being really nasty and racist towards each other. And they're getting fired from their jobs and everything, because they feel like, well, if he could let his mask slip, I can too. And maybe we can take over the world. But what they don't realize is that they make up a very small percentage of the population. Okay? And not everybody is bad. And I don't believe that all the Republicans are bad. I don't believe that, I believe that we have a chance to reach out and get them back to reality. We have a chance to say, hey, there's a trick being played on us. We are being played. And basically, we are being made to fight each other, And if he can get us to fight each other, then he can do whatever he wants in the background, because he knows he has his lackeys. And he's doing things that he should not be doing, and a lot of his followers are going along with it, because you know what? He made justifications for everything, So, for example, he says, Biden let in all of these immigrants, millions and millions of immigrants, okay? I've done the homework, okay? There was less than 1%. It was 0.174, I think it was, percent of all of the immigrants that came here were criminals, okay? They weren't all murderers. They were made up of different things, different makeups. And there's a makeup of each crime for all of the immigrants online, and you just got to do the homework. But 99.9% of them were not criminals. They were just trying to find a safe place to live, or whatever their motives are. So, people like me will say that's not true, because nothing can be really 100%. Okay, not even contraceptives are 100%. Okay, but it makes me think that his followers are being played because they're saying all these murderers and all the, and every chance he got, he was calling them murderers and killers and all these things. Okay, and that's not true. Okay, you may not have wanted them all to be here. I felt like, it was getting out of control as well. Okay, because I'm very objective. I felt like somebody needed to take control of it. I don't know everything that happened once they started coming over, because there was a lot of talk back and forth, okay? But not all of them were criminals, all right? They were not all eating dogs and cats. They were not eating pets and all of that crap. You know what it is? Somebody told him something and he ran with it, and his followers are just eating it up, and it doesn't matter what you tell them. They are going to double down and triple down, and quadruple down. So those are the ones that you have to let come around on their own. The other ones, you can't really make it happen either. They need to see the proof themselves. They need to slowly but surely get the information on their own. Because if you think about it, all of these years we've been trying to talk to them. We've been trying to say, well, this is not right, he's not right, all these things. And it just made them, distance themselves more, And a big part of that, too, was that we look at them and then we say, wow, I never knew this person ever, because how can they stand for that? How can they agree with that, And when you're for a cause, a cause that you believe in, you're willing to lose some stuff. You're willing to put up with some, illegal stuff from the president, okay? You'll say, well, that's okay. I'm willing to put up with that as long as he does this that he said and he does that he says, And sometimes they can go a little bit overboard, So, some of them are still saying about the Epstein files, why didn't Biden bring them out? Why didn't he do all of that? So that became their excuse too, because they heard it from him. So whenever anybody goes to them and says, oh, but what about the Epstein files? I say, oh, why didn't Biden? Blah, 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 And that becomes their talking point. And that's what a hive mind is like. They don't have ideas for themselves. And if they do have ideas for themselves, they file it away and they just push it down and they just keep doing what they're doing. And one day it's all going to come toppling down because Trump has stopped giving all of the F's, okay? He took his mask off. Now he's openly doing things to hurt America, and he does not care about anybody. He doesn't care about Democrats. He doesn't care about Republicans, and he doesn't care about Maga. He's cutting out all of the social programs that we benefited from. Even if you don't agree with certain people, you know what? They're part of America, okay? And we should be able to take care of our own people in America, and he's done nothing for the population. He's just doing what it is that he wants to do to enrich himself. And I'm sure they have excuses for that too. So basically the point of this is, I think that the best way to combat what is going on right now is to try our best to come together. Okay, try our best to reach out in our own families. I'm not saying talk to them about politics because you know what, that's just going to keep it going. What I'm just saying is just reach out in love, and say, hey, I may think you have black eyes. You may think I have black eyes. But you know what? We're family, right? So let's at least agree to disagree and leave politics out of it and just be family, okay? Now, I know there are probably people in my own life that say I'm a hypocrite because I do not talk to my mom. I don't, and I will not, okay? Because in my family, she was a Trump, okay? She was a Trump, and as much as I tried to go after her and be there and gain her approval and all of that, she still hurt me over and over and over again. So in that sense, people could say that. They could say whatever they want. But I'm not going to stay in a relationship that's going to abuse me. And that's the line that I had to draw finally because of so many chances I gave. And that's exactly what's going to happen with Maga. He made promises and promises, and he's only doing what he's only doing is hurting them. And at some point, after he breaks enough promises, they are going to start saying, I remember that red flag, I remember that red flag, I remember my mom telling me this, I remember my father telling me this, you know. And then they start to put all of the pieces together, and then it's a picture that is really hard to handle, you know. And that's when they need compassion, because a lot of them will have to deal with it on their own, because they just can't talk about it. And if we go after them, you know, and tell them I told you so and blah blah blah, they're going to be like whatever, you know, and they're just going to dig in, and they're going to stay there. It's not easy to leave that kind of a cult, okay? A place where you felt like you belonged. It was community. They all went to the rallies. It was like Super Bowl. I mean, it was just, you know, everything was awesome, you know? And they're the ones that are in it to be evil, we're not even talking about them. We're talking about the other people that genuinely believed in him, you know? And when they finally see reality, we need to respond in love, okay? You know, there's a lot of content creators, and I'm not going to lie, sometimes I get a kick out of it. But some content creators are just going all in on, like, hating, you know, MAGA, and you did this, and, you know, you have the day you voted for, and F you, and you deserve to lose everything. That's not the stance that I'm taking, because you know what? If we do that, then we're going to remain divided. You know, and when he leaves office, he doesn't care what he leaves behind. He doesn't care if he's destroyed families. He doesn't care if people have died because of the programs that he's cut. He doesn't care about any of it. Right now, they are just focused on pleasing the millionaires and the billionaires and getting deals done in the dark while we all fight amongst ourselves. And I hope that makes some kind of sense to you. There's a lot more I can say about that, and I will in other videos, but it is very difficult. So I just wanted to bring that forward to you, and maybe you could think about it. You know, obviously don't do anything that's going to put you in danger. Don't do anything that's going to cause fights or physical fights or anything else. I'm just saying that keep an open mind and just have a little compassion, you know, if they do come to you, because it's going to be very hard for them to do it. You know, and that's your opportunity to say, you know what, F you, or, you know, I love you, let's talk, you know, and then we can be united against the main threat that's out there, you know, and hopefully we can get our country back, you know, and by country, I mean each other, you know, so let me know what you think. You know, I know people are not going to agree with me. They're going to give me negative, you know, comments and things like that. I don't condone hate in my comments. I'm a new YouTuber, but I don't want people just being disrespectful. If you're MAGA and you don't agree with me, or you don't agree with anybody in the chat, just be civil. You know what I'm saying? You could say, I don't believe you. This is what I see, and you could bring forth your evidence and have a, you know, constructive conversation, even if, you know, you leave there and you both still disagree, but you can be respectful, you know. And I just wanted to bring that forth to you. I want a respectful chat, and I hope that you meditate on what I told you, because I've been there and done that so many times with different people, not just my mom, and I know exactly how it is, and I'll explain it to you little by little in the future, but think about it, okay? God bless y'all. Bye.